A crushed cab in a mountain ravine. A frame rail curved in the horizontal plane. A 50-ton load listing toward a total collapse. In the West, the machine dies here. It's written off, towed away, and forgotten. In Pakistan, they fix it where it stands. No lasers, no software, no backup. This is a masterclass in survival engineering. 3 cases of catastrophic failure, and the men who used fire and string to put them back on the road. This case involved a Hino 500 truck that had crashed into a ravine on a mountain road after the driver fell asleep at the wheel. The cab had first hit a tree and then the mountainside. By the time the car came to a stop, it was beyond repair. The chassis had been subjected to an unintended torsional load. Both spars had shifted relative to each other simultaneously in 3 planes. The recovery required 2 cranes from the road above. When the car was delivered to the workshop, the cab was removed and sent for disassembly. The bare frame was left with a noticeable distortion in each axle. Correcting such a complex deformation required working on each axle in sequence without over-correcting any of them. The process involved controlled heating and hammering at multiple points along the 25-foot structure over many hours. The cross members that hold the spars parallel had to be cut out and replaced. The new steel was cut with a gas torch, fitted by eye, and welded in. The welder held a piece of dark glass in front of his face. No helmet, just glass. The original frame used structural rivets, a joining method that outperforms bolts under cyclic loading. A rivet distributes shear stress across its entire cross-section, whereas a bolt concentrates it at the points where the threads meet. The replacement process was identical to the traditional method. Heat it to a red-hot state, insert it into the hole, and hammer the back end open until the metal had cooled. The alignment was checked with a string stretched between the front and rear of the frame. When the string passed over each crossmember at the same height, the frame was complete. It was primed, painted, and the installation of transmission units began. The second case was a highway rollover. A heavy truck went over on the asphalt after a high-speed lane change with an improperly stacked load. The center of gravity shifted. The dynamic load on the front axle exceeded its rated limit by roughly a factor of 3, and the truck went down. The front axle was rotated at an angle that should have been structurally impossible. The main frame rails, the longitudinal steel I-beams that the entire drivetrain bolts onto, had taken a permanent set. Not dented, bent, curved in the horizontal plane, like a steel ruler pressed flat at the wrong point. Recovery was done with chains and a crane. In a Western shop, a bent chassis goes on to a computerized straightening bench. Sensors at every reference point. Hydraulic pulls calibrated to the millimeter. Here, they brought in fire. The deformed section was heated with a gas torch to cherry red, roughly 1,400 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, internal stresses in the steel are relieved and the metal becomes workable. Then a 10-pound hammer started moving it back. The mechanic placed each strike at a specific point along the deformed arc, reading the flex and the sound and the vibration with each hit. When he was done, he pulled a string tight from one end of the frame to the other and sighted down it. That was the alignment check. Human eye, string line, decades of experience. The frame was straight when it looked straight. The third case involves no crash and no rollover. A 22-wheel flatbed loaded with raw timber sank its front end into loose aggregate at a road construction site. The load, the kind of timber that takes a century to grow, was heavy enough that either the fifth wheel coupling unlatched under the strain, or the front support legs simply drove themselves into the soft ground. Either way, the trailer was locked in place and listing toward a tip, and there was no crane on site. The solution was incremental lifting using timber cribbing pyramids. Because the ground surface was loose stone, the mechanics couldn't place bottle jacks directly. They would sink under load before moving anything. So they built platforms first. Massive timber beams laid flat, wide enough to distribute the pressure across a larger surface area. Jacks went on top of those. One man pumped, while others continuously fed additional blocks under the trailer frame, locking in each centimeter of lift before the next pump stroke. The entire sequence had to stay level. Any lateral tilt under that load and the whole stack comes down. While the lifting was underway, a second crew was preparing the Hino tractor's fifth wheel. The coupling plate was packed with a heavy layer of EP grease by hand. The lock mechanism, springs, detents, the kingpin receiver, was checked with a sledgehammer, striking the assembly to verify that nothing had been bent or seized during the incident. A fifth wheel that fails at speed with that load behind it is not a recoverable situation. When the trailer nose was high enough, the tractor backed in. The platform was sitting on timber stacks with no fixed connections. Nothing was bolted or pinned. The ground crew guided the tractor by hand signals and voice, calling fractions of inches as the kingpin approached the receiver. When it dropped in and locked, the sound was audible over everything else on the site. Part of the trailer's weight transferred immediately onto the tractor chassis. The timber pyramids then came down in reverse. Jacks raised the trailer slightly, blocks were knocked free, and the nose lowered onto the fifth wheel under control. Once the coupling was fully seated, the crew checked the brake lines and lighting cables for damage from the initial drop. Then the truck pulled out onto the road. Three trucks. Three situations where the engineering assessment said, write it off. None of them were written off. The tools used across all three jobs were fire, steel, hammers, chains, rope, and hands. Specifically, hands that have developed a tactile sensitivity that instruments can approximate but not fully replace. A finger dragged across a machine surface detects irregularities in the single-digit micron range. An experienced ear hears when a structure is responding correctly to load and when it isn't. Here's a question worth considering. A modern truck, electronic air suspension, adaptive braking, CAN bus fault detection, goes into a ravine 200 miles from the nearest dealership. How does it get fixed? Drop your answer in the comments.